Well, today's video is about the new Dogtra 200 IQ. This is much more than a review though, because you can see I've got all these collars sitting here. What I want to do is walk you through the Dogtra lineup and how this fits into it. If you follow Dogtra, if you're in the dog training field, you know there's been so many changes lately. Collars are coming out really quickly. Things are changing fast. It's tough to keep up. So I want to walk you through a lot of things. Even if you're not in the field and you just want a review, just hear me out on all this stuff, because by the end of this, you're gonna know if this is the collar for you. I love this collar, but I also like some of these other collars. So let me walk you through all of this and just kind of give you a little brief history of what's happened lately. So Dogtra's come out with some new collars, 200 IQ, obviously. We have the new 1900X. This is a high power unit. It's a great collar when it makes sense for you. We have the 280X. This is expandable to 3 dogs, as is the 1900. It's more of a mid-range collar. It's really nice. It's got some features that are great, but it also has some downsides. Then I also want to talk through these. So here, and bear with me, I don't edit these videos if I can help it. So if you see me, if I stumble over my words or if I can't find the collar for a second, just bear with me. But I've got a 200C and a 280C. Now these are two of like what you'd call the older Dogtra collars, and those are going away. And like the 280X is one of their new collars, and then so is the 200 IQ. So it seems pretty obvious. You've got your 280C here. The 280X replaced the 280C. That was the idea. Then you have your 200C, and to me, the 200 IQ was a fairly direct replacement for that. But there are some major differences. So let's talk through all of these collars for a second. The 280C, people have liked for years. It's got some huge upsides to it. I mean, they're all reliable. They're all good collars. But the 280C is predictable. It's easy. It's easy to use in the hand, and it's feels comfortable. It's ergonomic. Pagers on the front, and you have nick and stem here. People are used to that. That's how most Dogtra collars operate. So people have loved this collar for a long time. Now, the 200C is very similar to that, but you can see it has a dial instead of the LCD screen. That is, for some people, the downside. Some people actually like the dial better, but other than that, it's very similar. Now, here's the thing. This 200C, I have sold like, I don't know, 2 of these ever, because there's nothing that much better about this 200C than the 280C. Well, I'd say there's nothing better about it, but it's a little bit cheaper. So let's say $30 cheaper. You lose the screen. It doesn't feel like as luxury of a collar. I just find my clients always liked the 280C better. So I really never used the 200. I thought I was going to feel the same way about the 200 IQ. Now let's move to the X series. When the 280X came out, now I like this collar. I think it's got a lot of really nice things. It has a tone and a light on it, which is a huge benefit. The IQ has those as well. So that was a huge change. Now, there's another big feature here. This is expandable to 3 dogs by just this little toggle switch. That's huge, because these other collars, the older ones, like the 280C, if you wanted it to be a 2-dog unit, you had to buy the 282C. You couldn't just add a collar. So if you have the 280C, you get a second dog, you're basically trashing that collar and getting a whole new set. So the 280X changed that. You could just get a new collar, add it on, and now you have up to a 3-dog unit. So that's a huge upside. A lot of trainers, though, don't like this collar. And I do like it, but I understand their point of view. A couple things. One, it doesn't feel as good in the hand for some people. This is it's a bigger transmitter, right? I mean, look at this thing. So the remote is just a lot bigger in the hand. You can feel the difference. So some people don't like that. What a lot of people don't like, though, is they've changed. This has a boost feature on it, which is nice. It lets you set a higher level. So it's whatever your stem is set to plus 10, or you can program it to whatever you want. That's a really nice feature. But what they did is they changed the button placement. So now you have the correction on the front, then you have boost, you have pager, you have tone and light. That is very different from all these other collars. Well, it's very similar to the 1900X. It's very different from all the older collars. So a lot of trainers don't like that because they're used to pushing the button to page the dog. So pager on the front, they're just really, really used to that. That's a big change, and I found a lot of people just don't like that. So now, in comes the 200 IQ. You can see it has the dial. So in that sense, it's very similar to this. And this is the 200C. So there's a big similarity there. It has the dial. Now, I do want to talk about the dial for a second. They've changed it. It's a lot bigger. This dial's fairly small. This one is bigger. It's a noticeable difference. I don't know what it looks like on camera, but I can tell you I've played with this for about a week now. when you use it, it's a noticeable difference. So that's a big change. Now, they kept this one more like their old collar. So you have a button on the front, you have Nick, continuous, and pager. And I know trainers are gonna love that. Then you have tone and light on the side. So this feels really good in the hand. It actually is one of my favorite remotes. As I feel it, you have tone and light. Those are nice features. And if you haven't watched our 280X video, if you want to hear more about the tone and light, go ahead and watch that. The light's great, and we've got some video of it, like dogs running at night. It works really well. The tone is a nice feature that some trainers will use a lot. Some probably won't use that at all. So what I like is they're on this side, and they can almost be ignored. And you can page and correct if need be. So this is gonna feel so nice to most dog trainers, who've used Dogtra in the past. This collar is also expandable, only to 2 dogs instead of 3, but for most people, that's gonna be plenty. So a lot of cool features here. A little change, let me find a couple to compare it to. See this here, this little line between these 2 buttons. You might look at that and think that's decoration or just not important, but what that does is it keeps your thumb from sliding down. If you're on Nick, and you slide to continuous, that can be a huge problem. If you train a dog on Nick and they're at, let's say, a 20, and all of a sudden you go down and you hit them with 20 on continuous, it could really make them nervous and set back their training. That's obviously an issue. This helps prevent that. Look at some of these other collars. Let me show you. On the X series, they have the line, but it's not nearly, I don't know, it just doesn't feel the same. It looks very similar, but I think it's that it's not as wide. I don't know if you can see that here. It just doesn't feel the same to me. Now, if we look back at some of the other ones here, this is a 280C. This one just has like the little, I don't know, it feels like Braille, just like bumps in between it. The 200 had the line there, but once again, not as wide. This feels better to me. It feels like it'd be almost impossible to go from here kind of down and slide accidentally. It's also nice big buttons. The X series has these small buttons. These are a lot bigger. I think people are going to like that. That is a lot of good features. Let's talk about when you would use each collar. Now, I put all these on earlier on myself to test the stim level, and here's what I saw. The 1900X is way more powerful, and it should be. Like, it's just a whole different collar. If you need a high power collar, the 1900X it's just completely different than all of these. So high power collar, that's the time you would need that. Now, let's say you don't think you need a high power collar. It's really rare I use that actually. This has a longer range as well. It's a 3/4 mile instead of the half. That to me is not a huge upside. I don't have my dogs that far away. Usually they're like 100 yards max, so any of the range is good. When I put these on, what I noticed is this feels like the 280X, and the 280X feels like the 280C to me. They're supposed to be different. They feel very similar, and it's not a downside. I don't know. They all feel very comparable to me. When you switch, if you go from like a 200, to this, like a 200C to the 200 IQ, you need to, of course, check the level, right? Start really low and see what works for your dog. But I consider these all very, very similar in level. The difference is not enough. It's not even really noticeable to me. Now, times you might use different collars. Here, if you have 3 dogs and you want 1 remote, well, the 200 IQ is probably not going to be a great choice. You're going to probably want the 280X. I just can't imagine you wouldn't to be able to have 3 dogs there. Other than that, the arc, I don't have an arc here. The arc is nice because the button structure is different. You're not using these toggles to go between dogs. You have a gray button and an orange button. So if you have 2 dogs and you don't like this toggle, you're worried about being able to go from dog 1 to dog 2, you just want the button there. That is a feature for, a selling point for something like the arc. I don't find that for me to be very useful because if you have 2 dogs that are not well trained and you're just like always switching between them and it's like constant, you can't remember which dog you're on, well, that's a training problem. You shouldn't be out in real life using a collar if you're always switching and always correcting. So to me, you would have a, dog 1, dog 2, it switches easy. Of your 2 dogs, you know which one is more likely to be an issue in a scenario. You're hiking at the park, there's no way your dogs are exactly the same. So whatever, dog number 1 is way more likely to need paged or a correction. Well, you leave it set to dog 1 and you keep your finger on the nick or whatever, or the pager to be ready. And all of a sudden you see dog 2 do something, you just push it and then push your button. It's not going to be all that difficult. So to be honest, this might be a strong opinion. I think this collar is going to almost replace the 280X. And I don't mean like Dogtra is going to do that. I mean in dog trainer purchases. I think Once dog trainers get their hands on these and use it enough, I think you're going to see very few trainers use the 280X versus this. This is also a little bit cheaper, which is cool. It doesn't have the screen. I don't find that to be a big deal. Clients don't care. Clients want us to give them, the collar that's going to work for them that we recommend. So I don't think that's a big deal or, a selling point or an issue whatsoever. Just it is what it is. So my guess is give it a year or so, and we are going to find out that this collar has been just cannibalizing the 280X sales like crazy. And I think Dogtra is going to pick up on that. And I think you're going to see more collars following this setup here in the future. And if they, I think they're probably going to find a way to get the boost in, because that is a nice feature of the X series. I love that boost. You don't have it here. I think they're going to think long and hard about figuring out how to get the boost on this type of collar. Now, give me your feedback. I am not a jerk. So if you watch this and you think like I misstated something or I missed a collar that I should have talked about or a use case, tell me. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I guess if you're wrong, I'll say you're wrong. But if you've got a good point, I want to hear it, and everyone else is going to want to hear it too. We don't hide comments. So if you say, hey, you're a moron, you should use this collar, here's why, I'm not going to hide that comment. So put anything on there. It's going to start the conversation. We need to learn from each other, and I know a lot of you have good input out there. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think.